The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsfield with Roberta McCulloch-Dews of the Mayor's Office in the city of Pittsfield. Thanks for tuning in. So today we have with us Pittsfield's very own Grammy-nominated and award-winning singer-songwriter, Matt Cusson. Matt has been in the music business for more than 20 years, releasing albums. His namesake, Matt Cusson, and Only Human, to critical acclaim, as well as writing, singing, playing piano, producing, and arranging for some of the industry's biggest names, including Stevie Wonder, James Taylor, and Dua Lipa, to name a few. And at the end of 2022, his soulful arrangement of How Deep Is Your Love for the a cappella group King's Return scored the Grammy nomination under the category of Best Arrangement Instrumental or A Cappella. And Matt will be at the Grammys in February to see how it all unfolds. And so with so many good things happening for Matt Cusson, it's fair to say that this is his moment to shine. So welcome, Matt. How are you?
Thank you so much. That's quite the intro. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. You know, it is cold and it is January and it is to be expected. Right?
Right. I'm actually one of the fools that doesn't mind the cold. I kind of, it's a little too much the last couple of days when it gets down to the teens.
I know.
But I don't mind the cold. I bundle my daughter up. We go outside. We find ways to have fun. My wife, however, born and raised in Los Angeles, she's like, okay, after Christmas, I'm good with the cold. I'm all set.
It's something, I think the older I get, actually, I realize what folks used to say, when you feel cold in your bones. Like, I feel it. I'm like, man, I'm feeling cold in my bones. So what does this mean? That I have to move to Florida at some point?
I get it. We might all be moving somewhere more southern in the next few years. You never know.
I hear that. Well, we are going to shift gears from weather to a lot of great stuff happening for you because this is really a great moment for you, Matt. And so congratulations are in order. You know, you wrapped up 2022 with a host of gigs that took you to everywhere from Florida, Wisconsin, New York, and back to the Berkshires. And like I said, you know, you have the Grammys ahead of you, you know, in February. But I always like to, with my guests, set the stage and, you know, take it back a little bit. So, you know, you are Pittsfield's very own. You're born and raised. And, you know, mom and dad, Craig and Patty, they're a dynamic couple, you know, in their own right. They've given a lot to the community, and your siblings as well. But, you know, in your house, of course, with your parents' professions being a choir director and piano teacher, you know, of course, music is a mainstay. And I think what I'm curious about is, we know music is there. However, was music played according to the mood of the house?
So growing up, there was never not music playing. There was always. So my mom, when I was a kid, she had 60-something students. She was a piano teacher, and she would 60 to 70 students, which is a lot of students, you know, every week. So she would, from 8 in the morning till 5 or so p.m. every night, there was piano playing. And it's usually classical, and it's usually, you know, hand and exercises and all that kind of stuff. So it would be that all day long. And then it would be my dad would come home from work around 5:30, and he'd immediately put on his jazz records. And there would be moments, though. I remember being a kid and the first Take 6 record coming out. And he said, everybody in the living room, we're going to go in. He'd shut the lights off and we'd listen to the album from beginning to end. And I was only, I don't even know, 8 or so.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of moments like that. Music was always a moment in our house. It wasn't just what everybody did. And then with my brother and sister, and I'm 10 and 12 years younger than them. So I was the quote unquote, you know, mistake.
I wouldn't say that, but okay.
Well, I guess surprise.
You're the surprise, the bonus baby, as they say.
Right, exactly. So my brother, you know, would come home from school or wherever he was, and he would throw on Billy Joel and Elton John and all that stuff. And then my sister always had music playing, and she was Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, and that branch. So it was just from classical to jazz to
Yeah.
hip hop to rock. Like it was all, I was listening to it every day. And then I found the own things I like. Of course, Michael Jackson's Thriller came out when I was a baby.
Yeah.
And I immediately loved it. New Edition, I loved all that stuff. I
Of
loved Billy
course.
Joel. I loved James Taylor. I loved
Yes.
all that stuff. So I think I think it was inevitable with this amount of music, and I was always playing the piano. I really got serious about the piano when I was around 6 or 7,
Uh-huh.
and I just was always around the house. And I guess as a kid, when you're growing up and you're hearing all this stuff,
Yeah.
I would remember going outside and pretending that the wind was the orchestra and the leaves blowing in the wind. This is so corny of me to say,
No,
but I
it's
really
not.
did this as a kid. And the leaves blowing in the wind was people applauding.
Yeah.
And the siren going down was the flutes going up. And that's how I thought since I
Yeah.
can remember. It was always just ingrained in me.
But Matt, that's actually not corny. That's like it's imagination at work. Because like I remember my brother and I playing in the backyard, and instead of like for us, the leaves were money. So we
I like that a lot better.
leaves were money. And so we
Uh-huh.
would, but this is what you did. I always tell folks, we were like, my generation, I'm Gen X. So, my brother and I were both Gen X. So for us, it was about going outside and playing and using your imagination. And I
Yeah.
think when you have nothing else, of course, then you're able to imagine so much. So I think one, kudos to your parents because they didn't limit your music diet. You were really
Ever.
exposed to a lot. And then you also mentioned your dad turning off the lights. Now,
Yeah,
when the
it was.
music,
So he would come home. So he only did that with a couple of records.
Yeah.
The first Take Six record was a game changer
Mm.
for me, even as a kid. I loved that kind of music. I remember picking apart all six voices and trying to figure out which one was saying. That's what I did as a kid.
yeah,
And yeah, he would just kind of, he'd come home 5:30, and of course in the wintertime it was dark around 5:30. So he would come in, he would shut the lights off, and he'd say, we have to listen to this record. And I remember the whole family. I remember my brother sitting there like this. I remember my mother with her eyes closed. I remember it for some reason. I think I must have been 8
yeah,
when that happened. And I, of course, was a little restless kid, but I think I enjoyed what I was listening to. And now Take Six has been one of my biggest, inspiration and teachers, just as far as listening to them and picking them apart for the last however many years.
yeah.
It's so groups like that have been huge. So listening to all that music, I wasn't just listening to it. I was really dissecting it. So I like that bass line. I
Of
like that over
course.
there. So it was just, I guess it was just there. My mother said I was kicking in the womb to the beat of what was the song from Greece?
Um. Oh yeah, you better you than me do
Yeah.
the harmony.
Yes, yes.
Like, you don't want me singing.
Oh, and she said I loved Michael McDonald. So like What a
Oh,
Fool Believes would come on, and then
yes,
she'd feel
yes.
kicking in the womb, and I would be 2 years old dancing in the car seat. So
Well,
I think it was just there.
Well, speaking, I mean, speaking of that, and listen, your daughter's going to follow in your footsteps.
She sure is.
I saw that video of her
Yeah.
mouthing the words to say a little prayer, and I mean, I actually watched it 2 ways, with the sound on and the sound off. And it's adorable both ways. But like
is.
with the sound off, she's literally
Yeah.
her mouth, she's so expressive. She's in it.
Yeah.
And I think you raise a good point about how it's so like the influences that you have. Obviously, your parents influenced you perhaps even before you were even born, when you're in utero, right? And you were hearing music, and then you
Right.
came out and you loved it. And the same thing for your daughter. But I think that when you have all these influences, you have so much to choose from. Did you gravitate to a certain musical genre with everything that you had presented to you?
So genre-wise, I kind of like a lot of different stuff. I used to think that I was, the lead singer in New Edition, and I would perform these little concerts in my room, and I would be the lead singer. And then I remember being around 8 years old, and my dad listened to a lot of like smooth jazz, so there was a lot of like Joe Sample and Foreplay and groups like that. And I remember I thought that stuff was great, but then I reached a certain age, 8, 9, 10, where I was like, okay, what's next? And then I discovered Miles Davis and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I remember going to school and trying to push Miles Davis on all my 10-year-old friends. They were like, this isn't you. What is this? I was like, no,
What
no,
are
but
you
listen to
doing?
the plays here. Exactly. So I don't know if I gravitate. Man, I've always, and this is weird to say, I'm always gravitated towards complex music. Music that makes me think, and music that makes me. There was a lot of music I'd listen to Bill Evans and Oscar Peterson and say, okay, I gotta go figure out what they just played there. And I would be 10 years old with my CD player, pressing rewind and at the piano and trying to figure out what they played. So I guess you could say jazz and R&B.
Yeah.
But then when I hear lyrics that James Taylor writes and melodies that Paul Simon writes and Joni Mitchell, I'm like, oh no, this is the best. Like it's all, it's hard to pick one genre, but daily in this household, we listen to jazz.
Yeah.
We wake up and I play Bill Evans for my daughter and Yo-Yo Ma, a ton of stuff like that, classical and just calming but musical stuff. I love. It's not good to be in the music business and say I love complex music that's over everybody's head, but that's kind of what I gravitated towards. Not no matter what the style.
But you know what though, everything that was once before also comes around again, and so the complex actually is the basis for what we for so much of what we have today. I was listening to I listened to Sirius Radio, and on their one of their hip hop stations, they actually have a part where it's a segment called Salute the Sample. And that's when they break down the original and then they show you the sample. And so what it does is it allows listeners today to understand that what you're hearing just didn't happen. It came from something. I was listening just the other day. Who was it? It was Nautilus by Bob James, I think.
Yeah,
that bass, right? If you think about that song, how many times has that been sampled? Right? That's been sampled, the bass line of that. But the complexities of that music.
So much.
So I think for you,
it's a lot. I listen to a lot of Tribe Called Quest. They're my favorite.
Of course.
They're my wife's favorite.
Of course.
Q-Tip, we actually got to see him right before the pandemic.
What?
And it was a dream to see him because he doesn't perform a ton.
No.
So we got to see him with Robert Glasper and it was insane. It was just an amazing show. But and most of their music was of samples.
Yes.
They were geniuses at that.
Absolutely.
Genius. So that's another thing I did as a kid. What I would be like, if I liked a song, I'd be like, where did this come from? I actually remember hearing "How Deep Is Your Love" by a group called Portrait.
Yes.
And I was like, that's a cover song.
Yes.
And then I went back to the Bee Gees. I was like, oh my God, this song's amazing. So it's I always tried to go to where it came from. Always try to go to the roots of every song, all the music. I loved looking at the inside of the CD to figure out who played what, who produced what, who arranged. I always did that stuff. I actually miss opening up a CD and reading the credits.
I think it might. I think things come, life is cyclical, right? And I think just as how like the typewriter is back in fashion, I do think that people, they're going to want to see albums and read credits and look at the
records
art.
Are back.
Records are back. I think it's a whole experience of just looking at everything, not just the music, but the illustrative component to it. So, I think you might have your day again. Where
That'd
you can
great.
do that. But do you recall the first song you've ever written? Like, do you even still have it?
Definitely don't have it. I do remember I started dabbling in writing when I was around 10, 11, 12. I remember writing a song, and I don't know why this one stuck with me. I don't know if it was the first thing I ever wrote or what, but I think I was even younger than 10, and it was called She's a Cutie. And it said, she's a cutie, a cutie. No, She's a Cutie was another one. A Little Kid. I wrote a song called Little Kid. Yeah. And I said, all these songs were terrible. Yeah. It said, just because I'm a little kid doesn't mean I can't have a lover. Just because I'm a little kid doesn't mean I need permission from my mother. What? Now, I was about 9 years old. And I was like, oh, that sort of rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't cute. It was not cute. Thank God
Listen, back in the day, I remember, again, when hip hop was in its infancy, right? And so back then, when you wanted to write a rhyme, it would always start with, I was walking down the street and I looked at my feet and something like
Right.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
kinda,
It was so simplistic, but that's what
yes,
we did back in the day, you
that's
know?
what we did back then. Yeah, and that's what I did as an 8-year-old. So it worked itself out though, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Well, I always say love for music is one thing, talent is
Mhm.
another, but you have both. And obviously from your early years, you knew that you knew that you knew that you loved music.
Yeah.
When did you say, all right, I want to actually take this love and this passion and actually make a life out of it?
It was always a dream. When you're 8, 9, 10 years old in your room pretending you are whoever, singing for I used to stay up all night long in the dark and listen to whoever and pretend I was singing at a show. It was always a dream. And I always said, oh, I'm going to do something in music. And it didn't become super realistic until I really started singing out in public. I said my first gig when I was 10 at a club called Cherries in Lenox. They had an open mic night, and my sister used to go there all the time. And she took me, and I sang, and I couldn't have been more nervous. And like I almost was like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But I sang, and I sang Round and Round by Tevin Campbell
Yep.
with a piano player, and it went awesome, and it was fun. And I don't know if I was any good, but after that, I started singing. I sang at the Durant's Church a couple times
Yep.
I think it's on Linden Street.
It is Price
And
Memorial.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
sang at their church. I mean, I must have been 12 or so,
Wow.
and I started singing and I just seen people's reaction.
Yeah.
That helps.
How
And
did it
then
make you feel, Matt, when you did it?
I think the reaction I got was, first of all, my parents were like, "We didn't know you." They were terrified. He's gonna sing in front of people. Wait, what? Because I've been singing in my room my
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah.
And then they came up to me after that gig and was like, "You have a gift." I think they were like, "You can do this. You can absolutely." That was amazing. And I think that I didn't know how I felt. I think it was just like a feeling of, half of it was, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I've been practicing in my room for and the other half was, wow, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, this could actually be a thing.
Yeah.
It was basketball my whole life, but I clearly wasn't going to play basketball to make money.
Yeah.
When you look at how tall I am and all that stuff. But it's all I did. I don't know that it was ever a moment that I was like, yeah, I can do this. I came home from school, and my mother would say the same thing. And I threw my backpack down and went in my room, and I locked myself in there, and I played music. I played piano, and I picked up Take 6 records and
Yeah.
made little beats on my whatever keyboard I had. So I think the biggest moment was when I got into Berklee College of Music, because all through high school I would sing in plays and at funerals and weddings and corporate stuff like that. But
Yeah.
once I got into Berklee, I think that was like, oh, I'm one of these guys.
Yeah.
I can kind of play with these musicians from all over the world that were
Yeah.
the best at 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I think that and then getting the reaction from there, I was named one of the best. I was sang in the Singer Showcase, which showcases the top 8 singers at the school, and I played piano with, everyone and who needed a piano player. And I think there wasn't a moment, but I think
Yeah.
it kind of gradually, each moment in my brain put me up another step of, oh, maybe I can do this thing. And I'm still like, can I sustain this? It's the music business is not the most fun, but it is because of music, but the
Yeah.
business of it can be pretty cutthroat.
I
and
was
pretty-
going to
pretty,
ask you that too, because, Tribe talked about it too, in their lyrics.
They got a lot of songs about it.
They do.
Yeah.
And
Even today, even their current stuff, they still talk about it.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so we know that the music business is a business. And, and so like you said, you've been at this for a while and you're honing your craft, but you still mention that confidence part, right? And so it's always that balance of making sure that while you're honing your craft, you're also making sure that your business, the business aspect of it, is staying afloat. When you were at Berklee, what did it do for stabilizing your confidence to let you know that, all right, you've got a solid platform here? Because you ended up like playing with like John Mayer and Ryan Leslie at some point.
Yeah. So when I was at Berklee, I was only there for 2.5 semesters.
Yeah. Wow.
Before I got discovered by Brian McKnight,
All right.
dropped out of school, flew to his house.
Right.
And
That was 2000, right?
That was, yeah. So I think that Berkeley was just, as soon as I got to Berkeley, the first week I was scared because I was a teenager going to college for the first time. And then I slowly started making friends. And within a month, I was every day doing something different.
Yeah.
Whether it was a show in the cafeteria, whether it was playing at the coffee house down the road, whether it was, we would have studio sessions at Berkeley Studios, with beautiful recording studios at 4 a.m. We would go 4 to 8 and then go to class or skip class and go to IHOP.
Okay.
But, staying school kids.
Right.
But it was, I think that really made me think, okay, obviously the Brian McKnight thing really, that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm going to have I was only 19, I think, or 20. And I was like, no, I'm going to have a career in music.
Yeah.
Because he was one of my favorites.
Yes.
Like he when his first record came out, I was again a kid, 9 years old or so. And I remember learning how to play half of his stuff. And he has very complicated music. His first couple albums. So I would learn how to play all that stuff, and I would perform it everywhere around here. And when he heard me and said, "You feel like staying in school?" I was like, "I don't need to." And he was like, "You want to come to LA tomorrow?" I was like, "Yep."
So,
that was that.
So where did he hear you play? Where were you performing?
So I was at Berkeley. He was in town for a celebrity basketball game.
Okay.
And he knew my good friend and one of my mentors, Rob Lewis, who was his musical director at the time, said, Brian wants to come to Berkeley and hang out. And Rob called me because Rob at the moment was going to produce my demo for him.
Okay.
Remember when we made demos and passed in the record labels?
That's right.
Yeah. So he was going to produce my demo, and he said, why don't you come down? McKnight's, I know you're a fan. McKnight's in town. He wants to come by and play. And we went to a practice room with, I don't know, maybe 12 people in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people played, and I just sat there in awe.
Yeah.
And Rob said, I want to hear Matt play. So I played and sang a song that I wrote. Within 15 seconds of the song, McKnight gets on the phone. I'm like, oh, he thinks I suck. Excuse me. He thinks I'm terrible.
You're fine.
Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, yeah. And with a 2-year-old, I'm starting to watch every little thing.
Yeah,
like
I hear you.
Curse word.
I hear you.
So it turns out that I finished the song. He was on the phone with his manager, and then he called his wife and said, you have to hear this kid.
Wow.
And he came up, pulled me aside and said, what are you trying to do? I said, I want to play music. And he's like, you trying to stay in school? I said, not necessarily. He's like, you want to come to LA tomorrow? I was like, yeah.
The next day?
The next day, I dropped out of school that night. I went to the whatever office and said, I'm done.
So what was that conversation with your parents? Let's talk about that, Matt.
Berkeley's very expensive.
Yes.
I think we're supportive. They've never not been supportive.
Yeah.
Ever. They bought me everything I've never, as far as I need a new keyboard. They got me a keyboard.
Yeah.
They come to all my shows. I think my dad was nervous, super like, wait, you're doing what?
Right.
But it was Brian McKnight. So he was like, he can't not take that opportunity.
Right, of course.
So I went out to LA. I stayed with Brian at his house for a few weeks. We wrote 2 songs, me, him, and Rob.
Yeah.
And, he ended up going on tour and things fizzled. I signed a deal with him, but things fizzled a little bit. And then he called me a couple years later and he said, hey, we're going to Atlantic Records in New York. He's like, I know you live there. Let's all go. And I went and I sang, and Atlantic Records was interested, and then that fizzled out. And then I ended up touring with him for almost 10 years, opening for him and this and that. And it's a crazy story.
And he's like your mentor.
He's one of my mentors. Yeah, I credit a lot of how I play and sing to him. Well, they used to call me Brian McWhite. What? It was my nickname as a teenager.
Well, listen.
That was my nickname as a teenager until Clive Davis said, you got to drop it.
Listen.
You got to. He was like, there's already Brian McKnight. We need a Matt Cusson now. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, I got to.
You're your own person.
Take what he taught me. Yes,
you are your own person.
But keep it going, yeah.
Well, listen to him.
He's been lovely.
Well, listen, Brian McKnight is legendary. Like, I think Brian McKnight might like One Last Cry, like all of those things. Like, again, 90s, when we think about like that 90s R&B flavor.
He was the king.
He was the king of that. Yeah. And so I hear so many just notes, the R&B just is so pervasive in your music. R&B and jazz, I would say, are the two main things that my ear picks up when I listen to your just your portfolio of music. It's just all there. And so I guess my question would be, was that intentional? Because I know some artists are like, I don't want to be boxed in and I play everything. And so for you, did you say, this is the direction I want to go in?
You know, I did, because when I remember one of the first conversations I had with Brian himself was, I want to do like your first two albums. So he did his first two records, which were basically jazz with R&B. And then he did Back at One, which was a straight pop hit. He was like, I said, I want to do like your first two records. I want to do that kind of music. And he was like, well, you should do the opposite of what I did. Do the pop song first, and then you could do whatever you want after that. And after, I would say from 18 to 24, I was in and out of record deals, in and out of, there was a couple boy bands that wanted me to join. I was in and out of so many situations of, you got to do like this. Oh, you're going to be the next Justin Timberlake. You're going to be the next Brian McKnight. I got so much of that. And I actually wrote a song called The First Me on my next record that says, it's hard to believe in yourself when you're told to be somebody else. Why be the second, or simply repeat, I'd rather be the very first me. And that is based on the whole first, that period of time. So when I got out of all that, I went through a dark period where, I think a lot of artists, I think you have to as an artist, you got to go through your depression phase. I went through that, and that was rough for about a year and a half. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do music the way I want to do it. And then I made my first record, and I got picked up by Spectre Records, and I went on a 35-city tour, and it felt great. And then I'll say this, my second record, Only Human, I love that record, but it's not me. It's a departure from it's more singer-songwriter. I had a lot I wanted to say. So it's more lyric-based and arrangement-based, as opposed to chords, harmonies, riffs. And it's more, I think I lost a lot of my jazz and R&B fans with that record, but I'm glad I made it. Obviously, very glad I made it. And now, since then, it's been nothing but fun. I just want music to be fun, and I want to do, it's now that I'm not on a record label anymore, it's fun to have all the creative control and just put stuff out. I just released a single yesterday, actually, called No Light Yet, which is my social justice song, and I released it on MLK Day. I did it with two friends of mine, and a video drops on the first day of Black History Month on February 1st. So I'm doing music the way I want to do it, and it's fun.
Well, one, I'm listening to you, and it seems like this journey has made you aware of who you are. Like, you're at that place now in your career where you feel confident, because I think that's a part of the music business too, where again, it's like shape shifting and being molded into what the industry thinks that is the hot thing right now, or
you're
what people, you're a product. And so, as an artist, you really have to stay true to this is what I want to do. And some artists aren't able to move to that next level because they're hamstringed by the record label. They'll say, well, listen, if you can't do what we want you to do, we're not going to put out your album, or we're going to stall
somebody
it.
that can do it.
Exactly.
1,000%. I've been there. I've had those record deals. I've been through the stories I could tell from ages 18 to say 27. Like insane. The people I've worked with, the deals, the A&R reps that passed away right before I signed my deal.
Wow.
The 9/11. I was supposed to go meet with J Records on 9/11, and I woke up that morning and started getting ready. My brother called me and he said, "You might want to turn on the TV before you head to New York." Wow. And like, it's just the amount of stories. And like you said, I could have given up. I think a lot of musicians do. Easily given up. But I something within me was like, not yet. Just keep going and put out these records and collaborate with these people and learn how to do this and learn how to do that, and you'll have a career. And here I am. And thank God I kept going, because like I said, it's the most discouraging business. And it's very easy to, wow, those 4 record deals I had when I was a teenager and up to 21, none of them worked out.
Right.
And this person doesn't want to work with me anymore, and that fell through. And it's easy, especially because you're just like you said, you're a product, and they'll throw you in the trash if they're done with you. So it all helped shape me and help me find who I am, like you
Right.
said.
So I'm listening to you again. I think about Erica Badu when she says, "Keep in mind that I'm an
Oh,
artist and I'm sensitive
uh-huh.
about my right." And
Yeah,
keeping
yeah,
that vulnerability while also that toughness, it's a balance, and also
hmm
maintaining that part within you that says, "I can keep going." What did you
yeah.
anchor into to allow yourself to still have that blend of being able to be vulnerable but tough and still believe in yourself?
I've always been a super emotional person. Like commercials make me cry, and I have never hid anything. I talk about my the dark moment, my depression. I talk about it with everybody, and I've written a lot of songs about it. And one of them, my therapist who lives in LA, just passed it on to all her students or her clients. And she's like, the song says a lot of how it is to go through that. And I think I don't know if one thing just anchored me, but it was just a matter of not being afraid to talk about stuff. It was a matter of keep moving forward. There were years I made 25 grand a year, and there were years that, if I'm touring with McKnight and he's making an album, we're not doing any shows, I'm broke for 5 months or whatever. It's just a matter of, and I tell kids this all the time, it's persevering, it's being as self-reliant as you can. And honestly, it's not much of an answer to your
Yeah.
question, but I just kept going. I
Yeah.
just kept going, and I took from every experience.
Well, thank you for your honesty, because I think that sometimes people think names and lights, they automatically, wow, you're rich and famous. And they think that you
Yeah.
have no problems and that,
Yeah.
you have this, like everything is perfect. And behind all of that is a lot of work. Behind
So much
everything is
work and a
so much
lot of
work.
heartache
That's right.
and a lot of late night. I was up till 4 in the morning every morning until I had a kid. I was up and working. And even now there's moments where, I just, I'm still up till 4 in the morning working on something, even though I know I got to get up at 8 with my daughter.
Right.
It's, if you want to do it, you have to put in the work. That's one of
Right.
the first things McKnight told me. We were in the car the first night I flew out there, in the car going from the studio to his house, and he was like, "This is not easy." He told me how hard. He's like, "This is really hard." He was like, right now he had his number one single. He was like, it didn't get any easier after that. He was like, it got harder. He was like, because I got expectations and more
Right.
demands. And he was telling me how hard it is. And after living it and talking to more people and working with more people, it's hard. And I just encourage every kid that gets discouraged at 25, at 30, at 35, at 40, just keep going, because it will happen. Something will come. I promise.
Yes.
Even if it's a realization of, I'm just meant to do this at the bar,
That's
which is
right.
awesome.
That's
You're making a
right.
living doing it.
Right.
Go do it and
Well,
keep going.
yeah, I mean, you're right. It's I think there's something for all of us to do, and
Hmm.
our journeys will expand and contract as necessary to place
Right,
us where we need to be.
right,
And
right.
and so I totally get that. I'm just gonna let our listeners know that who are just tuning in, that my guest today is Matt Cusson, and he is talking about his musical journey. He's the Grammy nominated Matt Cusson, I should
That's
say.
so weird to hear.
Well, okay, let's
That's
talk
so weird.
about that. Let's talk about that, because we
Sure.
just talked about you putting in that work, and
Hmm.
now this is like the pinnacle. If you are an artist, this is the pinnacle. Why is it weird to hear that?
I think I thought it was just that was just a dream that would never be attainable, and that's not a very positive message. But I honestly, after being in it for 15, 20 years and seeing how hard it is for the rich and famous to get nominated, and what they go through just to get nominated, I just never thought, uh, especially this soon. I only got 2 albums out, and I know I should have a lot more, but especially this soon, I didn't think that it was something that would happen this soon. But I'm really glad that it did happen, and the whole last, I guess now, month and a half has just been overwhelming wonderfully overwhelming. And the people I've heard from and the opportunities and talking with you, like, it's the best. It's been really incredible.
Well, I'm just thrilled that I have an opportunity to speak with you because, I can say I've spoken to the Grammy nominated and we'll know more next month how that translates, right? But,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But even still, whatever the outcome, you have much to be proud of. You being in this business for as long as you have been, staying the course, putting out good music, listening to your music. I'm like, wow, your music it feels very personal, but it also invites the listener into a journey. I feel like I'm listening to you read your diary, put on music.
Yeah,
like that's how
what
it
Only
felt.
Human was, for sure. Yeah, especially that Only Human record.
Yeah.
Every song on that record is so personal. It deals with my addictions at one point. It deals with a little bit of everything. And the next one will be no different. I got a lot of stuff still that I want to talk about. And now I'm just doing it more my way, And and thank you. I'm so happy you actually listened. That's awesome.
No, I did. And right now, the song that I'm loving is Feel Like That. Okay.
Yes,
I love that
Thank
single.
you.
It's with Marie Dahlstrom. I think I'm pronouncing her name right.
Yep.
And
Phenomenal
so
artist.
I'm waiting for that album to drop because I need your album to drop because I need more of it because
it's coming. I'll send you some sneak peeks.
Oh my gosh, that song, you guys, you have to tune into it. You have to stream it, whatever platform you use. The song is fire. I was like, it has a nice neo soul vibe to it. I'm like, I like this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, when you bring up Erykah Badu, that neo soul stuff, D'Angelo changed my life.
Yes.
He changed my entire life, the way I hear music, the way I play. He changed. When Voodoo came out, it changed everything for me. That album is top 5 album of all time for me.
Yes. Listen, D'Angelo,
you'll always hear a little bit of neo in there.
I love neo soul. Erykah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so for me, I was in college in the 90s and so late 90s for me, I went through my Erykah Badu stage where I the head wraps, everything.
Yeah. Yes.
So her music, Baduism just spoke to me, right? It just, and to this day, I mean, we're talking over 20 years now and Baduism is still fire.
Oh, easily.
And that's the thing with good music. When you put out good music, it doesn't matter the time frame. It holds up, right? It preserves.
I was just listening to an old James Taylor record. I was like, wow, he could have wrote this today.
Yeah.
And it was like in the 70s. Like those real, the D'Angelos, the Erykah Badu, the James, they write music like it's supposed to be written.
Right.
And they write it from their heart. They produce it, perfectly.
Yeah.
And the Mama's Gun is one of my favorite records. Like and I listen to it all the time. Like it's that wasn't out in 2000. That's still around in my house.
Yeah. It good music stands the test of time. And so I think, that's something that your music is going to hold up too, because your music is really, really good. So you guys, if you haven't tuned into Matt, you need to find him and listen to his music, listen to both albums, listen to the new single.
Out yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Listen to all of it.
Thank you so much.
I want to go now to, because we talked a little bit about like the songwriting process, but for you, I mean, the whole Grammy nomination, it's tied back to the pandemic, right? Because it was during the pandemic that you actually were able to connect with King's Return, and they're based out of Texas, and you never met them. Everything was virtual.
Still haven't met him. Yeah, everything was virtual. That's same with Marie Dahlstrom and Feel Like That.
Wow.
That was over the pandemic, and we never met. We've had opportunities. She lives in London, and I was in London last spring, and we couldn't get it together. And then she was in New York last September, and we just couldn't. Schedules got crisscrossed.
Yeah,
and we couldn't make it happen. So yeah, King's Return, 4 of the nicest, loveliest, most talented vocalists and musicians I've ever met, and sweethearts of people, and I can't wait to meet them at the Grammys. And we're gonna have a really nice, we were thinking of having our own little party, but we're just gonna go to dinner. It's gonna be us and whoever wants to join us, and we're gonna have a really nice dinner. We're gonna talk and we're gonna laugh, and I'm psyched to finally meet and hang with those dudes, because we've been hanging over the phone and over Zoom for the last 2 years.
That's
So
crazy.
it's awesome. Yeah, the pandemic, it wasn't kind for anybody, but
No.
musically, it was good. It was good for me. I literally sat in front of my computer 14 hours a day and learned how to mix records. And the good thing of, no, not the good thing, but the thing about the pandemic was a lot of the artists that were performing stopped, so they wanted to record. So I got a lot of calls, and I ended up producing a ton. I've done mixes for like HGTV and Comedy Central and stuff like that, and it was fruitful for me. I'll say that. I wish it didn't happen, obviously, but I took advantage of being in the house in my studio. And this is when we lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, near New York. And I don't have a ton of friends in Greenwich, and we weren't hanging out anyway. So I literally just learned as much as I could, collaborated with as many people as I could. And it ended up being pretty good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point about the pandemic. It allowed us it was a pause, but it allowed us to cultivate things and passions and different things that maybe we didn't have the time to do before. So out of what was a very horrendous situation, we were able to find things that we could make good out of it. And you did that.
Yeah. I wasn't going to sit back and watch Netflix for a year. I did a little bit of that. With my wife. But it was, plus we had to figure out how to keep living. We had to figure out how to keep paying rent.
Right.
So I just worked.
Because that's real.
Big time. Yeah. Big time. So I just kept going. And I gave people discounts and did some stuff for free. And here we are.
Yes. And look at that. And out of that came this Grammy nomination, right? Because of that work with King's Return, came this beautiful product and this acclaim, and you'll always have that. Like, you will always have that. So that's amazing.
It's insane, and how it all happened too. It's just we had moved up here.
Yeah.
We just my wife was almost ready to burst.
Yeah.
And we moved up here. We didn't have a place to live yet, so we were at my parents' staying in their guest room, and I had all my studio gear was in storage. And I had a computer and a little board and a little interface. And I said, sure, I'll do this arrangement for you. And then we did it. And at me being Mr. Complex, the first draft, they were like, can you just tone it down a little bit? Like, I went way overboard. But that's what I do. I say, I always give you more. And then we dial it back.
Right.
But, it was crazy how it all happened. I'm so thankful for those dudes.
Wow.
And this Grammy, win or lose, is as much theirs as it is mine.
That's
for sure.
right.
Because they made it what it is.
That's
I
right.
arranged it, but when their voices are on it,
yes.
because I actually recorded it for them to learn, and my voice, it's fine. Their four voices and their blend, it was flawless.
Well, win or lose, I don't think that there's any loss here, because I think it's all a gain. You formed,
sure.
These great, business relationships, and I'm sure. Yep. I'm sure it doesn't hurt to say Grammy nominated as you're meeting folks and people. That's
a nice ring.
It's a nice ring, and I'm sure that in and of itself helps to open up even more doors. So I think that's like a big win there. But I think you mentioned that you were also doing stuff like with HGTV and like mixes and stuff. Also, did I also read correctly? Lifetime, like you've done stuff for Lifetime?
Yeah, I actually just finished a song for them. Yeah,
get out.
I did a couple of their Christmas movies, a couple songs for them, and a couple of their summer movies. I just finished a song with my amazing singer friend Patrice Covington, who played Aretha Franklin's sister in the Hulu documentary or the Hulu show. I think it was called Genius, Aretha Franklin story. She's a phenomenal human being and singer, and she hit me up and was like, hey, can we do another song for Lifetime? I was like, sure.
Wow.
And we did a song, and she sang it, and I produced it. We co-wrote it, and here's another point. When I was in my, when I was after the dark stuff and I started to really get happy with music, people were like, you can't say yes to everything. You gotta be really picky. Over the last few years, I've said yes to almost everything. Just saying, you know what? I work better when I'm spread thin, and you never know which one of these things is going to get you a Grammy nomination or a $10,000 check or whatever it is. I think every little, and it's all music still. Right. So I want to do all music. So it's all work. It's all music. It's all love. It's I'm not saying say yes to everything, but if you can, do as much as you can.
But you also have to know your bandwidth. And I think you have figured that out, because for some people, they might say, I can't. And that could work for them. But if you know that that's how you thrive, then why not?
I got to keep going. Yeah, I can't just work on one thing at a time. Like today, when we're done, I have a song I'm mixing.
Yeah.
That'll take a couple hours. After that, I have a song I'm producing for a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Like it's 2, 3, 4 projects a day
Huh.
that I'm working on. And then I'll, hopefully at nighttime, I'll work on my own stuff. That's the one thing, is my stuff tends to take a lot longer, but it don't matter. If I'm making music with other people, that's the dream.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about like a day in the life. Like how do you, do you need solitude to do this? Do you go into like a special room, or how do you get it all out of your head?
So I did, but we live now in Williamstown in this beautiful apartment, and but it doesn't have an extra room for my studio. So my studio is kind of crammed. Yeah, I still have a lot of stuff in storage, and we're looking for a house, but everybody knows the market is pretty horrible right now. So my daily life changed when my daughter was born, obviously for the better. But yeah, I'm up early with her. I'm giving her breakfast. Me and my wife give her breakfast. We spend time. We play games. We do puzzles. We read books, and around 10, 11, we'll figure out, okay, what do I got to do today? And whoever has more work, the other one takes because my wife is in entertainment too. And like yesterday, she had an audition, and I watched the baby all day, and then I worked at night. Like that's how you do it. There's no day in the life. It's just what's happening today. We wake up in the morning and figure it out.
Right.
And if I have a project, then my wife is awesome with, okay, you got to finish your thing. I got her. I'll take her to the library, and I try to finish stuff. And it's made me quicker. Yeah, I'll say that. Having a daughter.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it's made me slower. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I totally. We have 3, and I mean they're not babies anymore.
Superheroes.
Oh, I remember when they were that age, and I remember when I used to do interviews and on the phone, and I remember I would have to tell folks, "Don't worry, like that's just my daughter, or that's just a baby," and they was like, "Oh, I remember."
Yeah. I'm shocked that you haven't heard her yet.
She's
being
fine.
An angel right now. I had to lock the door because she would run in. But she's being actually incredible out there right now. I don't know what my wife has got her doing.
It's all good. I remember those days, and I remember just as working parents, you do what you have to do to find that balance. And I always tell everyone, don't feel any way. It's part of the course. It's what you do.
Yeah.
Listening to the rundown of all the activities you've done with her, I didn't hear singing in the mix, Matt, because when I saw that video of her and she's mouthing, like literally it's like her mouth is going wide
at like 1.5 too.
Yeah, and
like
I'm thinking,
it's every day. We don't go to sleep at night without a dance party. And the dance party consists of all of us dancing, and she grabs her guitar. According to her, the family band is me on piano, she's on guitar, my wife's on drum. So I'm looking for a bass player. I don't know if you're free, but music is daily in this house, and she's just getting into Bobby McFerrin now, which I love because I'm obsessed with Bobby McFerrin, who's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award this year at the Grammys.
Oh wow!
And she actually likes really cool music. There's a Bill Evans song she loves. Like she's playing all that music. Her whole life has paid off.
It's clear.
She does like her kiddie stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
But the fact that she likes any Bill Evans song I'll take it.
It's clear that she's soaking something up, and if she's like this at this age, I can only imagine when she gets older. I mean, it's going to be pretty incredible because I was like, this baby is so expressive.
It's crazy. After that video, James Taylor's brother called me. Livingston Taylor called me. He said, "Is she a genius?" He was like, are you seeing things? I was like, she's it's hard to tell at 1.5, but she's doing things that I thought were normal for most 1-year-olds. Yeah. It's not.
No.
Because now I've met other 1-year-olds, and they love music and they dance and they shake their hips, but she does some stuff. She
was pretty on cue.
She knows how to play guitar. She moves her fingers up and down the fret, and she's it's crazy.
Well, listen, if there's anyone that's going to nurture it, it's you and your wife. So you guys are pretty awesome. You're already having dance parties at night.
Thank you. Every single night. Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do before bed, but we have a dance party every night before bed.
She's the boss. She's a producer. She's telling
Yep.
everyone where they
Yep.
need to go. So
Yes.
keep making those videos because it was great. It was great to see.
We have a million of them. So many, yeah.
So listen, you actually another interesting fact about you, Matt. So you have something in common with our Stephanie Wilson, right? With NASA. Because
Oh, I know. Yeah.
because like we know she is like astronaut extraordinaire, but NASA actually selected your song "Callin' It Night" from your Only Human album, right? For its annual moon phase video. Like I don't like their moon phase video. Is that like sort of like a wrap up of their year in review or something?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's either a year in view or what it's going to be going forward. That's actually the second project I did with NASA. That one was
Cool.
easy because they just took the song off the record and used it for their video, which was incredible. I'm honored that happened.
Yeah.
But I did a project specifically for them, wrote a song, produced a song with my good friend Javier Colon,
Yeah.
who was the winner of The Voice. Yeah.
Yes.
So me and him wrote a song, recorded it, shot a video for it. People can check it out. It's called The Moon and More. It's an educational song, and it's about, the video is actually really amazing. Shout out to my friend David from NASA who did the whole thing. And then the second one, they took Calling It a Night for their video, and I guess Night and Moon. I guess that's why they linked it together, and
Wow.
it worked out. It's a beautiful video, and yeah, they play The Moon and More and that stuff all year round at their events and at wherever NASA is. They kind of play The Moon and More, and it's pretty awesome. It's
Wow.
pretty awesome. Yeah, and shout out to Stephanie too. She's the GOAT.
I mean, exactly. I mean, to think we have like two Pittsfielders with NASA connections on two
Right.
different ends
It's
of the
crazy.
spectrum. But yeah, I mean, that's
Right.
that's
Yeah.
really
I
awesome.
ain't going anywhere near the moon. I'm terrified of heights.
So you're
And-
not
and-
planning to get on one of those rides? Those I don't know what is that? Was it Elon Musk or whoever had the SpaceX or
good.
something like that? Yeah. Nope.
No, I'm
Yeah.
a chicken. I am
Yeah.
a softie and I'm a chicken. Remember how I told you I was emotional? I would kick and scream. Yeah. I wish I was a strong, I'm
I
not.
hear you. No, I hear you. I like to have my feet
not.
planted on earth.
Yes.
I'm good.
Yes. Even when I go on boats, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to, get to land.
I hear you. So, Matt, I have to ask, and I know songs can be like your babies, but do you have a personal favorite?
Of my own?
Yeah.
I think the last time I answered this question, I said it's whatever song I'm currently working on.
Huh.
That's such a lame answer.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder used to say I haven't written it yet,
Oh.
and I stole that for a little while.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I have a favorite. They're all like it is like having your babies and you're trying to
Yeah.
pick one.
I hear you.
So I'm gonna say I'm gonna give you the lame answer of it's the
Okay.
song I'm working on right now. for
Of
my next
course.
record.
Very diplomatic. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, let's talk touring for a little bit. And I'm looking at my clock here and I realized I said, an hour can go by really fast when you're talking good stuff. But, touring can be both energizing and grueling. And I think like in 2019, you wrapped up a tour with Christina Aguilera. Is that the case?
Yeah.
So-
Christina Aguilera and an India.Re tour.
Cool.
A short India.Re. I just did the Northeast with India.Re and Javier, my friend Javier.
Yes.
And Christina was a residency in Vegas, and then we hit random cities for one-offs.
I just need to know about the balance with that. I mean, obviously you're a family man and you're also, an artist. How do you reconcile the two?
Before my daughter, it was easy because my wife would come to a lot of, like, when I did the residency in Vegas with Christina, she was out there for, God, a couple weeks. Before that, I was the MD for the Got Talent tour. So it was like the winners of all Got Talent from all around. And we did Australia, which is one of my favorite places to go visit. And my wife came out to me for like a month and a half. Like, so before the daughter, it was much easier. It was take all the gigs you can and bring your wife with you if you can. She would come out. I toured with Megan Hilty a lot, and she used to bring my wife everywhere with me. So now that the daughter is here, it's really hard leaving home. It's so hard because I come back, like I'm leaving for Europe with Dave Koz in April until basically the last day of May. So it'll be about a month and a half, and that's the longest I've been away from her. I've been away, the longest since then has been 3 weeks, but this will be the longest. I'm hoping she can come with me to the Spain, Portugal portion of the tour, which my wife has never been. So I'm trying to hopefully get them out there for that.
Right.
Being away, leaving is hard, especially now that she's 2. She knows daddy's leaving and he might not be back for a while. So it's really hard. That's why I'm thankful for the studio work I get. When I can stay home and do it. I've definitely not toured as much as I used to. I'm Megan Hilty, Dave Koz, couple in my own stuff, and a couple other people here and there. Before that, it was CeeLo Green, Brian McKnight, and whoever.
Right.
I love touring, and I always will do it. I think I'm a little more selective with it now, and I love working from home and having my daughter run in and ruin the recording. It's the best.
Well, no, I totally understand. And, the little ones always change things, right?
For sure. And put stuff in perspective. Big
really?
time.
Yeah, it does, because you have this whole other little life.
Yeah.
And, so
I'm going to try to bring her with me. She's coming out with me to LA in a week. So her and my wife are going to come. They're not coming to the show, but they'll be out there with me. My wife's family's out there and they've never met my daughter. So it'll be a fun trip.
That's
But
great.
I'm terrified about the flight. If you have any pointers about a 2-year-old on a plane for 6 hours, I'll take them.
Well,
they say bring all the snacks, all the toys.
Bring
all
the snacks, the toys. If she has her little headphones and her music that she can listen to, I think it's tough. I think sometimes, the other passengers will give other passengers with the side eye. They look like, we know what this flight's going to be about.
Yeah. It's funny how I've changed, because now I never was mad.
Yeah.
But it was when you're trying to sleep, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not going to sleep. But now I see parents, I'm like, I got you.
I'm like, bless you.
Yes, whatever you need. You're a hero.
Yes.
I will help you however I can. I'm
Yes.
so sorry if your baby cries.
Yeah.
It's all good for me.
It's like realizing, like, we've all been there. It's just, I guess, for the people who are who have been so far removed from it and they don't remember those days, but you're already trying to deal with your little one, and then you're embarrassed because then everyone starts looking at you, and then it compounds the situation. So I would say just do what you're going to do. Like, bring her all the things she likes to do, her gadgets. She's probably also going to fall asleep.
I hope so. We planned the whole flight around her nap.
Yeah.
So I hope she sleeps a little bit, and she does get motion sickness, so we're gonna put some Dramamine, kids Dramamine in her. Hopefully that helps sleep a little bit. But I guess nothing to do but to do it, and get the first one over with.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then Spain will be a different story.
Well,
if she comes to Spain, that's a long flight.
It's a long one. Kids handle it differently. I was on an international flight. I went to Ghana this last summer, and there were little ones, and they range. There are some who are more comfortable than others.
Yeah.
Going was great. Coming back, not so much. But
I understand. Yeah. That was my flight to Australia. On the way home, I sat next to a 2-year-old who was all up on my seat, on my tray table.
Yes.
She had a book that just flipped over, and I was like, it's fine.
Fine. I had that for me too, and I had to just say, I remember.
Yeah.
Just remember.
Yeah, it'll be over.
It'll be over. I just made sure. I had my little movie playing. Just turned up the volume and settled into my seat.
Yes. Yep. I might have to do that even with my daughter.
Like, I see you. You're good.
You're good. I'm going to go ahead and watch this movie now.
But, Matt, we have 2 minutes left. So I just need to ask I need to ask you. I have to.
Rapid fire.
One more question. One or maybe two. When you're not working on a project, what do you like to do in the Berkshires?
Oh, I love taking my daughter everywhere to Ioka Farm. I know it's not in the Berkshires. Is that in the Berkshires? That's in upstate New York, I think.
No, well, Ioka's, I feel like it's around here.
It's like right there, yeah. We go to all the libraries,
Okay.
Pittsfield, Williamstown, Adams. We go to all the special events in Lenox, the singers, Terry Aliberry. We love going to see him. We take her to the museums. Well, we took her to Mass Mocha the other day. We take her there all the time.
Great.
She loves Mass Mocha. I'm obsessed with Mass Mocha. I think the
now
building
they
itself
have
is-
the little roller coaster in there.
Yes, of which my neighbor, it was on the front page of the Eagle
Yeah.
the other day because she wrote it.
Oh, that was your
She
neighbor?
she lives right across the hall from us. Yeah, she's amazing. Like, talk
Nice.
about what I want to be when I'm 92.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, we do everything with her. We take her to the place with the farm. I can't remember. My brain is mush
That's
these
okay.
days. But
That's okay.
the
Wait,
Shaker Village all the
Hancock Shaker
time.
Village. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we do that. We do the baby animals every year.
Nice.
Everywhere. We
Cool.
love, my wife, like I said, is from Los Angeles, born and raised, and she never wants to leave the birth. She loves it here.
All right.
Absolutely loves it here.
All right. And Matt, if you had to choose one word to describe you, what would it be?
Oh God. Can "oh God" be my answer?
No.
That's 2 words. I don't know. That's a good question. I got too many words. Nervous, emotional, weird, odd, tired. Tired. I'm going with tired.
All right. All right. You heard it here first. All right, folks.
You heard it here first. Matt Cusson is tired.
Thank you, Matt. Well, folks, you've been listening to Backstory. Let's hear it on WTBR-FM Pittsville with Roberta McCulloch News up the mayor's office in the city of Pittsville. We just want to thank Matt Cusson for that really great conversation, and we wish him all the luck at the Grammys in February. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and have a great day.